Rassie Erasmus dismisses Brett Robinson's call for faster law changes, defends World Rugby's essential due process. Springboks director of rugby Rassie Erasmus has strongly pushed back against World Rugby chair Brett Robinson's suggestion that the global game is moving too slowly when it comes to implementing law changes, branding the idea that reforms should be rushed as ridiculous and potentially dangerous for rugby's long-term health. The debate around the pace of law adaptations has intensified as World Rugby looks ahead to the 2027 Rugby World Cup in Australia, with Robinson publicly expressing frustration at what he believes is an outdated and overly cautious system that prevents the sport from evolving quickly enough. However, Erasmus, supported by SA Rugby's national law advisor and former elite referee Jaco Peyper, has made it clear that while innovation is necessary, shortcuts in the lawmaking process could have severe and unintended consequences for the game. At Robinson's frustration with rugby's slow reform culture, Robinson, who took over as World Rugby chair in late 2024, has been vocal about his desire to modernize the way rugby is governed. Speaking on the Rugby Unity podcast in December, the former Wallabies captain outlined his belief that the sport struggles to keep pace with change because of entrenched governance structures and cultural divisions. "I don't think we are moving at a good pace," Robinson said. "We have a cultural problem in our game that involves us wanting to move all the world together. And that's hard because you have different perspectives on how the game should be played, and it's hemispheric." Robinson pointed to the long-standing divide between Northern and Southern Hemisphere nations, arguing that disagreements over style, tradition, and priorities often stall progress. He also criticized the rigid voting thresholds required for law amendments, highlighting a recent failed proposal that fell short of the required 75% approval due to what he described as human error. According to Robinson, the upcoming Nations Championship could serve as a unifying force, offering a platform for experimentation and alignment ahead of the next World Cup cycle. But he remains concerned that rugby's governance model simply does not allow for rapid, meaningful evolution. "We don't have a system that really enables that to move quickly," he added. "That's something I've also challenged us to reconsider as to how we get the work done." Erasmus rejects claims process is too long. Erasmus, though, sees Robinson's concerns very differently. Speaking on the Rassie Podcast, the two-time World Cup winning coach dismissed the notion that law changes should be accelerated for the sake of entertainment or public perception. "I think that's a ridiculous statement," Erasmus said bluntly, referencing Robinson's remarks. "You can't not have a test lab or due diligence because of the consequences." For Erasmus, the integrity of rugby's laws is fundamental to the sport's identity. He warned that hasty changes could undermine competitive balance, distort the game's core principles, and unfairly disadvantage teams that have built success within the existing framework. A team that has money and sponsorships and is successful and where they're ranked in the world, he explained, "If somebody decides, oh, the game's boring, let's change this, then the game is going to quickly go off the charter." Inside World Rugby's lawmaking process backing up Erasmus' stance, Peyper offered a detailed insight into the extensive research and analysis that underpins any potential law change, a process he admits he underestimated during his own refereeing career. "So World Rugby has constant measures out there, tracking data and stats in all competitions," Peyper explained, "from European Rugby to Super Rugby and even the Currie Cup." According to Peyper, World Rugby continuously monitors trends across the global game, collecting vast amounts of data related to ball in-play time, tackle counts, breakdown efficiency, injury rates, and refereeing outcomes. When they see the game trending in a certain way, they dive deeper, he said. They ask whether this is good for rugby or bad for it. Is it a referee problem, or is it teams pushing the envelope too far? Peyper revealed that he only fully appreciated the scale of this work after joining World Rugby committees alongside Springboks assistant coach Felix Jones. In the old days, people thought referees made all the changes. Peyper admitted that they got into a room, drank a few whiskeys, and decided, this is good for the game. I thought that too, until I got to this level. The shape of the game and global consultation central to World Rugby's approach is the annual Shape of the Game conference, typically held during the Six Nations window. The forum brings together a broad cross-section of stakeholders from across the sport. Referees, elite coaches, high-performance managers, doctors, physios, strength and conditioning coaches. Everyone is there, Peyper explained. They give feedback on what they're seeing and what impact the laws are having. This collaborative process, Peyper says, ensures that decisions are not made in isolation or based on short-term trends, but instead align with rugby's long-term charter and values. Crucially, he noted that law changes are rarely implemented immediately. Instead, they're trialed in selected competitions such as Super Rugby, the Varsity Cup, or other controlled environments. They put all of that through a competition, then analyze the data at the end, he said. Most of the time, you realize rugby laws shouldn't change easily because of the unintended consequences. When speed is allowed. Player safety. While Erasmus and Peyper both support a measured approach, they acknowledge there is one area where World Rugby acts swiftly: player welfare. If it's safety and everybody agrees it should change now, then you change it straight away, Peyper explained. Like players diving at the legs, that was clearly dangerous. Beyond such cases, however, the governing body remains cautious. Peyper stressed that even well-intentioned ideas can backfire. We think we're going to speed up the game, he said, but instead we slow it down. We might have more ball in play, but it's boring or it takes the contest away. Erasmus' global calendar concern. Erasmus also linked the issue of law changes to rugby's fragmented international calendar, a long-standing concern for the Springboks. Because we don't have a global season, the Springboks don't play for 7 months, he explained. If you trial something in Super Rugby or the Six Nations and then apply it in June, there are consequences. He warned that teams exposed to new interpretations or trials gain an advantage over those who haven't played under the same conditions, further complicating international competition. This, Erasmus argues, is another reason why consistency and careful planning are essential. You can't have certain countries getting the upper hand because changes aren't implemented at the same time, he said. Science, scrums, and law. SLAMS paper concluded by highlighting the scientific depth behind even the most technical aspects of law reform. In areas such as scrummaging, World Rugby uses specialized law labs to test potential changes. They'll put 2 scrum packs in, use sensors and different measures, and actually measure the impact, he revealed. They get stats and data from that before taking it anywhere else. Only after extensive testing, debate, and global consultation do proposals move closer to formal adoption. If a law change happens too easily, Peyper warned, often we get something that we didn't want. A clash of philosophies at its core. The disagreement between Robinson and Erasmus reflects a broader philosophical divide within the sport. The tension between innovation and preservation. While Robinson is eager to see rugby adapt more rapidly to modern audiences, Erasmus believes that patience, data, and respect for the game's foundations are non-negotiable as rugby navigates an increasingly complex global landscape. The challenge for World Rugby may be finding a balance, evolving without losing the very qualities that define the sport. For now, Erasmus has made one thing clear. When it comes to law changes, slower may well be smarter.